We are here this morning to mark up H.R. 3212, the Sean and David Goldman International Child Abduction Prevention and Return Act of 2013. This legislation mirrors legislation that I wrote back in 2000 called the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which is designed to combat the hideous practice of human trafficking, and to do so by holding countries to account. It also mirrors legislation authored by Congressman Frank Wolf, the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, that in like manner holds countries to account for egregious behavior as it relates to human rights. And of course, here we're talking about child abduction. As our members are aware, this bill enjoys strong bipartisan support. Almost every member of the House, and many of us do have constituents that have come forward and asked for our help, are affected by the tragedy of international parental child abduction. Child abduction occurs when one parent takes a child from his or her home in the United States to another country, or wrongfully retains a child abroad in violation of the other parent's custody rights, often with the intent of depriving the other parent of access to the child. The damage to the child and the left-behind parents is incalculable and too often lifelong. The children are at risk of serious emotional and psychological problems, and many experience anxiety, eating problems, nightmares, mood swings, sleep disturbances, aggressive behavior, resentment, guilt, and fearfulness. Parental child abduction is child abuse. These victims are American citizens who need the help of their government in a more robust way, especially when normal legal processes are unavailable or fail. It was David Goldman's unrelenting, almost 6-year effort to bring his son, Sean, home from Brazil that has helped to highlight the epidemic of international parental child abduction. David, like other equally heroic parents, was absolutely tenacious. He is here in this room, and I thank him for the leadership that he has provided that has been extraordinary. But he was absolutely tenacious, but suffered setbacks and a numbing pain along the way. Right up to the very week before Sean was released, all of us were wondering, will it happen or will it not? Well, according to the U.S. Department of State, between the years 2000 and 2008 and 2012, bereaved left-behind parents like David reported over 4,800 abduction cases involving more than 7,000 American children. I had the privilege of joining David in his fight to return Sean and experience firsthand the maddening obstacles encountered by left-behind parents, even in countries that have signed the Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction. Foreign courts, endless appeals to run out the clock, exploitation of the safeguards in the convention, and prejudice against foreigners all block the way to bringing American children home. Too many families have been waiting too long for the return of their children. I see in the audience Captain Paul Toland, who has not been able to see his daughter Erica since 2004, despite the fact that he is her only living parent. So many other left-behind parents are here today, many of whom, like Captain Toland, long to be reunited with their children. In the room, too, and I didn't know he would be here, is a man, Mr. Feimster, the grandfather. His daughter's children were kidnapped. And this is a case, frankly, where the State Department and the Foreign Service officers involved did an extraordinary case and effectuated the return of his son, the two granddaughters who were kidnapped to Tunisia. So congratulations. At times, the system does work, but it is still broken in many ways. I also see in the audience Mr. Hermer, whose daughter is being held in the United Kingdom. Mr. Braden, I believe, will be here. Mr. Elias, Mr. Burns, and as I said, Mr. Feimster. Michael Elias, just one brief example, is a combat-injured Iraqi veteran, testified at one of my 4 hearings on abduction, saying, and I quote him in pertinent part, "As a father who no longer has his children to hold in his arms, I cannot deal with the sorrows, so I try my best to stay strong and keep fighting for their return. All of my hopes and dreams for their future now lie in the hands of others." He continued, "I am begging our government to help not only my family, but hundreds of other heartbroken families as well, to demand the return of American children." Today is our chance to help. H.R. 3212 backs with penalties our demands for adherence to international obligations and makes clear to friends and foes alike that our children are our top priority. As stated in the legislation, it has several purposes. First, we want to protect children whose habitual residence in the U.S. from the harmful effects of abduction and to assist left-behind parents to have access to their abducted children in a safe and predictable manner while an abduction case is pending. We want to provide left-behind parents, their advocates, and judges the information they need to enhance the resolution of abduction cases to establish legal procedures. An additional purpose of the bill would be to establish measured, effective, and predictable actions to be undertaken by the President on behalf of abducted American children and to promote international consensus that is in the interest of the children to have any issues related to their care and custody determined in the country of their habitual residence. And finally, the bill would encourage the effective implementation of international mechanisms, particularly those established pursuant to the Hague Convention, to achieve reciprocity in the resolution of abductions and to protect children from harmful effects of abduction. The Goldman Act gives the President important tools, and I have listed them in my comments, and I would ask members to take a look at those, but they are derived from previous laws, including IRFA and the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, so that there will be real clout behind our insistence that these children be brought back. So without objection, I would ask that my full comments be made part of the record, and again, I thank my colleagues.